Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Hunting Grounds. The team has been hard at it, out there spending as much time in the woods as they possibly can, and it's just that time of year where it can be really discouraging to go out, spend tons of time, especially with the weather, and if you haven't tagged a buck or if you haven't even used any kind of tag yet, it can be really hard to get out there and want to sit there in the stand not knowing if you're going to fill that tag. But I encourage you guys to get out there and do so, because you guys saw in last week's episode how rough of a season that I have had, and finally it paid off when I tagged my first buck on my first property that I've ever owned, and it was truly a blessing, and everything comes together in God's time. But I do understand what a lot of you are going through, working a full-time job and trying to find time to get out there in the stand. I'm actually on lunch break right now in the field next to my building doing this interview so you guys can see it. This week's episode, and I've had a lot of traffic coming by. It is not the best place to do it, but with the short time frame of sun out, you know, I go to work when it's pretty much dark and I go home when it's pretty much dark, so I'm out here doing this interview now. Well, on this week's episode, we're gonna go to Kansas. There goes another car. Awesome. But we're going back out to Kansas. You guys have seen me put in a lot of time out there. It has been incredibly rough. Last year, it was pretty easy. I was able to get out there on my second time out. I was able to tag a buck within an hour and a half of being in the stand. I knew this year wasn't gonna be as easy, but it has been really tough. But I do feel a tag. Let's go ahead and take a look to see how Kansas is panning out this year.
The Hunting Grounds is brought to you by Giotto Gear, Hercules Tires, Spy Point, Advanced Tree Stands, Walk On Archery, Nose Jammer, Dirt Nap, Hook Line Sinker Outdoors.
We are arriving in Kansas. We're about a mile down the road where we'll be hunting for the next 3 days. This is a Giotto Gear sponsored hunt. You guys have seen me use their products a lot on the show. Probably one of the most used products that we use on the show is actually the cargo slide. You guys have seen me load everything from deer to all our management stuff in it. They're the ones making this hunt possible. But Brian and I are out here for 3 days in Kansas. The rut is on. We have not been out to this spot since early season. If you guys remember, we came in, hung some advanced tree stands, planted a little bit of seed, and put up on the Spy Point trail cameras. This is where I killed that buck last year, my first real sit out here within an hour and a half. We have high hopes. Temperatures are right now 43 degrees, and we've got to carry in the platforms and the seats to our advanced tree stands and all the gear. So when we get up here, we probably won't film any walking in. It's going to take us a little time to get in there. We were crazy and ended up leaving the house in Missouri at 3 a.m. this morning. Drove 2.5 hours out here, and we'll have enough time that we should be able to get all the stuff set up and then sit there for 30 minutes before the sun even thinks about coming up. So let the deer calm down. So we are getting really close here. Stay tuned in. I have a feeling these next 3 days are going to be really interesting. All right, so this morning we've seen probably a good 6 to 10 does. As soon as we got in here this morning, there was a buck chasing some does on a little ridge across the creek. Then we had a couple does come in. They came back through with a whole bunch more does. The buck was not behind it. We saw a little messed up, big-bodied, small-racked 8-point, and it's been a pretty frustrating morning. We sound like we had a road hunter pull in on the road down here, and you could tell he only got walking distance from his truck, where you could probably still see his truck, and he just sat there and grunted. And he'd stop, and he'd grunt again, and he'd do it over and over. First sign of someone coming down on the road, he hopped in the truck and took off. So, but hasn't hurt our hunting. We've seen a lot of deer, and we're in the right spot, I think. So, we're gonna wait it out. Well guys, that's gonna wrap up our Giotto Gear sponsored Kansas hunt, and we had a good time. Brian got to go out to Kansas for the first time. We had some cool deer encounters. Definitely could have tagged a doe, but we were looking to do that the last day, maybe, if we just had a great opportunity. The bucks just didn't present themselves. We had a really cool encounter there at the very end with a buck that came into the rattling. Just didn't see any deer to want to come in all the way. Rut's kicking off here, and with the cold front coming in, it's only going to get better. But we've got to head back home. Open and gun season in Missouri and Arkansas this weekend, and I expect to have some really cool hunts coming in. So we've got everything loaded up in the cargo slide. We actually took down our advanced tree stands, we took down our platforms, we took down our seats, and that way if anybody comes in here, like we had someone come in and hang up a stand, they have no way to hunt our stands, or if they decide to take them, they don't get the majority of them. They get the stem, then they got to go buy an advanced tree stand. So we've got it all loaded up. We're fixing to hit the road. We got to drive back down to our Arkansas/Missouri homes. Brian's with me, so we're gonna get out of here.
The Hunt Grounds is brought to you by Redneck Blinds, Bowtech, Eagle Seed, Popeyes of Northwest Arkansas, Shaybug Design, and by Mojo Outdoors.
Alright, so here we go, back in Kansas on the Giotto gear hunt, and I've gone all in. I've gone the Hail Mary this time around. Last night I got in really late, about 9 o'clock, came back into the thicket here on 30 acres that I have to hunt, and brought in the climber and found a tree, picked one out. It took me a long time because I just really don't have many shots. Lots of deer sign. I was seeing a lot of deer sign back here in the thicket and not much up on the field edge. Out here there's a lot of fresh scrapes, there's a lot of fresh droppings and trails. Wasn't getting that up front, so I'm hoping it pays off, hoping that I can pull a big buck or a big doe in here and actually get a shot in one of these few shooting lanes. I got in here super early this morning so I could climb up the tree, get all my camera gear hooked up and all my bow hung up and get everything situated, and then turn the lights off and sit here for probably a good 45 minutes to an hour before the sun comes up. So it's going to be interesting. Rut is on. Biggest cold front that we've had through the area so far this year. Just hit last night. It was like 60s and 70s yesterday. High of today around 40 something. Low this morning about 24 degrees here. So it's going to be cold. The deer are going to be moving, and I feel really good about it. So we'll see if I can try not to get busted because I'm not very far up this tree, and see if we can get a deer to come right down this trail, or have a buck come chasing a doe in here somewhere close. So we'll see what happens. I just shot a doe. My first ever Kansas doe. Excited about that. Major intersection area here, I guess. And clearly saw there's no big mature bucks. Was able to take the biggest doe out of the herd, and but I'm gonna go ahead and hunt it out until this afternoon, sometime when the deer stop moving. I think she'll be fine. It's 24 degrees here in Kansas this morning. I'm freezing, but excited. My first doe in Kansas. Man, jeez. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. The dirt nap broadhead. This makes it easy. Keep that there. It's a lot of blood. Broke up my arrow. Oh, there she is. Nice. Well, this morning got it done out here self-filming, so it's actually pretty challenging. I've got the camera set up on a fallen down log, and it's balanced by a couple of different twigs that I put underneath it to try to get it halfway level. Because I didn't bring the tripod because I was up in a tree, and I had my 4th arrow camera arm up there. But had an awesome hunt this morning. Had a lot of does come through, one small little yearling buck, and that was just about it. And so I was looking to film my first Kansas tag out here, and so once I knew there wasn't a buck around, I went ahead and took a doe. It actually didn't bother the other deer at all. They stuck around there. So I'm gonna get her cleaned up, drag her out, get her hung up, and hopefully I've got a day and a half left to hunt for a buck out here. So pretty excited to finally get a deer down. We've put in quite a few days here in Kansas already, and we've passed up a lot of does, and this doe is huge and just a big blessing, and she's going to provide a lot of meat. So I'm going to get at it. Got a lot of work and got a long drag back to the truck through a thicket by myself out here in Kansas. So here we go. Hopefully tonight big old bruiser comes through and fill a second tag, or early tomorrow morning. We'll see. Well, I finally got tired of passing up the does and needed to put some Kansas meat in the freezer, so I was blessed enough to finally tag a big old doe. It was a lot of work dragging her out by myself and with all the equipment, but you know, when you're only hunting 30 acres in Kansas, it doesn't give you a whole lot of opportunities when the deer aren't moving in one area to move to another area. Pretty much, if deer aren't moving on your 30 acres, they aren't moving. So definitely, if I have a few more days later in the season, I'm gonna get back out there, put a couple more days in the stand, and hopefully fill my buck tag. But there's still a lot of deer hunting left for us, so if you guys haven't subscribed on YouTube, be sure to subscribe there. Subscribe on our website, tsg-tv.com. Follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram, because we are always posting on there, sometimes even doing live video on Facebook. So that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Guys, until next time, go your way to get a youth or a new hunter involved in the outdoors, and as always, have a better than average day. And I hope you guys get a little further away from the city than I am today. Get all this traffic, I'm sure you guys have heard it, driving me nuts out. Here comes more for me. Whew, that's a wrap. Well, all right, this is why you always want to bring a cameraman or your best hunting buddy out with you so they can drag the deer out for you. I've got another guy that hunts this property, and I want to come back in here, so I don't want to gut this doe here, so I have the fun task of dragging her out fully loaded. And I made a little backpack sling here, and got a long drag ahead of me. So do it yourself, unless you have a cameraman. That does help a lot. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. Oh, it's gonna hurt, I can tell you that. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Now if that little sling gets off her legs, I'm gonna go catapulting that way. Ooh. Feel the burn. It's working. Here we go.